I'd like to open the closed session meeting of May 8th, 2023. It is 5 p.m. I will ask that the city clerk please call roll.
Councilmember Garner,
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe,
Here.
Councilmember Venable,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan,
Here.
Mayor Beaver,
Here.
all present.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any public speaker slips, ma'am?
No comments.
No public comments. Then we will move into closed session, and it is still 5 o'clock.
Let's wrap it up, dude.
All right, let's do this. Anna? Anna, you ready? Good evening. I'd like to open the regular City Council, Successor Agency, and Housing Authority meeting of May 8th, 2023. It is 6:03 p.m. I will ask that Lieutenant Scoville please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Madam City Clerk, will you please call roll?
Councilmember Gardner,
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe,
Here.
Councilmember Venable,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan,
Here.
Mayor Beaver,
Here.
all present.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. City Manager, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes, sir.
Thank you. Give me one moment. Okay, in order to allow for a more orderly public meeting and in keeping with state and local law, the public meetings of the City of Yucaipa will be conducted with order and civility in mind. Any person who disrupts, disturbs, or breaks up this meeting will be asked to leave. Under city rules, city council meetings, disrupting the meeting includes speaking out of turn, stamping feet, whistles, yells, and similar demonstrations such as clapping. This is a public meeting that will be conducted with the civility and decorum, not a sporting event where each side of an issue tries to be louder than the other. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be strictly adhered to. After consulting with city staff, I have confirmed that sharing of time on public comment is prohibited. A copy of the rules, I believe, is now on the agenda, but we can certainly provide anybody a copy of the rules who would like to see them. All persons coming before this council will be treated fairly and with respect by the council members and by you. It was established in 1956 and showcases the many wonders and benefits of bicycling, all while encouraging more individuals to give biking a try. Biking is a great way for individuals and families to have fun, commute, and exercise. Bicycle-friendly communities have citizens who are more physically active, which in turn can help reduce the risk of chronic illnesses and improve overall health, well-being, and quality of life. Bicyclists are an essential component of the league movement for promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operation and safety education, safer streets, connected communities, a healthier planet, and happier people. As a national sponsor of Bike Month, the league provides resources to help you and local organizations in your area plan an event, and each year the number of diversity of Bike Month celebrations continue to grow, accelerating the momentum around bicycling nationwide. Now, therefore be resolved that the month of May 2023 is hereby proclaimed as National Bike Month in the City of Yucaipa, and in doing so, we, the council, encourage all citizens to join us in celebrating this event by getting out there and riding a bicycle. And another side note that if you're driving an automobile and you see a bicyclist, please show them respect. Let's take care of our neighbors that are riding bikes. A great cause indeed. Okay, moving on to public comment. I have 2 public comment speakers. Ms. Sherry Eulig. I apologize. Come on down to the podium, ma'am. Over here, and then we'll start the timer. You have a 3-minute timer.
Sounds good.
And if you could just say your name and your address, please.
Sherry Eulig, 35425 Yucaipa Boulevard, here in Yucaipa.
Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Honorable Council. As this laughable recall grows, so does the opposition. We, the people, have seen through this liberal agenda to destroy our conservative city. They thought we wouldn't notice that the recall is being comprised by the chairman of the San Bernardino County Democratic Party. Yucaipa is comprised mostly of God-fearing, conservative American patriots who support you men on this dial. These proponents of the recall are overgrown children who did not get their way and don't agree with the decisions you've made. And in their temper tantrums, mind you now, should be kicked out. We don't think so. We support you, God bless you. God bless Yucaipa, our conservative city. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Hanson Wong, followed by, let's hold the applause, please, followed by Ms. Rebecca Lockney.
Hanson Wong, 35150 Court Street, Yucaipa, and I hope you missed me last time, since
Welcome
I
back.
wasn't here.
Welcome back.
Okay, so I just want to let you know, I'm disappointed with the city council. Even if you truly believe that 4 per acre rather than 1 per acre is not high density, and not at least higher density, you should at least consider the things dealing with our seniors in that area. They put in 80% senior housing in that area. They put the senior housing in one area that has a cul-de-sac and only one way out. When you do that, then if a wildfire starts on one end, it could create a problem. Then if they have to get out without their vehicles, the 2-to-1 gradient of their homes makes it difficult for them to try and get out as well. So something should have been said at that time where you would at least consider to have the, I can't remember his new title, but the developer with the owner should have at least considered listening to the facts of making things better and safer for the seniors. What they did for the fire was what was required by the codes. And if you have a house fire, sure, the fire engine can go there. You have some fire hydrants, but I don't think that would suffice for a wildfire. I don't know whether they got a wildfire expert to look at it. I know that Councilman Gardner is concerned about our seniors and our first responders. Well, I think he should consider this. For our mayor, he said, well, they said it didn't pencil out. Now, working with contracts like I have, penciling out means I'm not going to make my 50% margin. I'm only going to make my 20% margin. So again, you need to consider something like that when you're considering their penciling out. And I know Councilman Venable thinks very highly of our children. Our children are going to grow up to be adults, or adults are going to grow up to be senior citizens, and I think that he should also consider making sure that they do the right thing for our seniors. Councilman Bobby Duncan, he's a friend of our, I wish I remembered that name, but anyway, of our developer, and that he should say to him, you know, please make it safer for the seniors that live there, even if you're going to build something that's a higher density. I hope you consider that and reconsider how he should do this if he's going to do it at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Mrs. Rebecca Lockney, followed by Mrs. Colleen Wong.
Hello, council.
Ma'am, name and address, please.
Oh, Rebecca Lockney, 34046 Lake Breeze Drive.
Thank you.
So for those of you who don't know me, and I'm sure most of you do, I'm Bobby Duncan's daughter, which probably makes me about the second most unliked person in this room right now, and I'm okay with that. I've been coming to these meetings, especially very diligently for the last 6 months. I've been listening to all the comments, and I have kept my mouth shut, but I just wanted to come up today because 2 weeks ago, someone sitting behind me made some comments that I want to respond to. So the first one was directed to Councilman Venable, and it said, Councilman Venable, we spared you this time. And that was in regards to the recall effort. So is that what this has come to? When these men make a decision that these people don't like, you threaten a recall. That would be to suggest that you don't appreciate the democratic republic that this nation was founded on. Just because we don't always agree with you doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. The second statement was said that Councilman Thorpe is the only one whose wife and family can be proud of him. Well, I take opposition to that because, first of all, it's wrong to bring anyone's family into these decisions you guys make. Bringing people's family into it, to me, is the lowest of low. So I'm going to disagree with that. I want Mayor Beaver to know that your daughter Hadley's extremely proud of you. I know your parents, and I know your family, and I know they're very proud of you. Matt Garner, Kylie, Kaylee, Ryan, Deanne, they're all very proud of the man that you are. Chris Venable, Chelsea, Alana, Christine, and Heather, they all beam with pride because of the person that you are. I also know for a fact that there's many kids in this town that throughout the years you've coached and you've mentored, and they're also very proud of you. And I can say for myself that my brother, my mom, and I are very proud of that man over there named Bobby Duncan. He's worked 3, 4, and 5 jobs at a time to put food on our table. They were young bride and groom at 15 and 18, and he worked his tail off to make sure that my family had everything they needed, even if it meant he didn't. I want to quote, while I close, that I know it's a thankless job. I've watched my dad do it for over 10 years, and you guys don't get the recognition you deserve. You sit up there and you take a pounding week after week after week. I want to end by quoting Dr. Martin Luther King because I thought this quote went really well with the situation in the city right now. There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he takes it because his conscience tells him it's right. Keep up the good work. Godspeed, Councilman.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Colleen Wong.
Colleen Wong, 35150 Court Street, Yucaipa. I have very limited vocal cords today, and I wasn't here the last couple of weeks, and I want to tell you why I am voting to recall y'all. Unless you're going to tell me that Matt Garner is a bald-faced liar, he told me, Bobby and Justin, that you took him aside when he was being presented in a community forum, and you asked him then if he would support removing Ray Casey. Now, I don't even know Ray Casey, but I know what he did, and he seems like he did a good job. Mr. Gardner, I'm voting to recall you because you're not representing me as a citizen or the other 1,200 people that signed those petitions. But the other reason is you told me that the reason you voted to get rid of Rick Casey was because Bobby told you to. You told me that to my face, and I don't lie, not even when it serves me well. Mr. Duncan, I don't know you well enough to really say much about you except by your actions, and I will make no comments about that because I don't have any personal experience with them. But if these are sad, if these things are true, I'm really sad about the state of our city because it doesn't seem like you're doing what's right.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there any member of the council that would like to remove an item from the consent for discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to remove anything, but on the minutes related to the closed session item from the previous meeting, it states that I was absent. I walked in a little bit late, but I was there for the meeting. I wasn't there for roll call. So I just want to let that out there for a correction.
So for the record, Councilman Thorpe was not present for the roll call of closed session on the closed session meeting of April, was it 27th?
24th.
Sorry again?
24th.
24th, I apologize. But he did join us in closed session immediately after we entered the closed session chambers. Thank you, sir. If there is none that, no item that you'd like to have removed, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
First and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to mayor and council member business reports. We are here to conduct business. Gentlemen, I would ask that we keep politics out of it and do our job as the councilmen that we were elected to do. So if there's anything that you'd like to report outside of the politics of the city right now, we can hear it now. But I would ask that you limit your reports to business, please.
I would just like to thank Megan and all of her staff and volunteers. I won't be able to do it probably at the end because the last item I'm going to have to recuse myself, so I probably won't be here at the end. But I wanted to thank Megan and all of her staff, the volunteers, everybody involved with this weekend's event. I thought it was top drawer all the way around. I was there both nights for the majority of them. It was awesome. good comments online. People loved it. So kudos to you and all your staff and everybody involved.
I actually heard, I got a comment. Somebody text messaged me and asked me if the teen area was Megan's idea, and if it was, to make sure that she knows how great that is. So even if it wasn't, it's your staff, I would imagine, so you get credit as well. Outstanding leadership. Keep up the great work. Please tell your folks in your department they're doing a phenomenal job for our community.
So I'd like to report that I attended the Omnitrans meeting this month, and Omnitrans is working real hard to resume service. Right now, they're at about 80%. They're hoping to get to 100%. COVID kind of shut them down, and it's slowed them down, but they're working real hard to get the Omnitrans service back up to speed. I attended the SBCTA meeting, and we haven't had a chance yet to talk about the freeway corridor project, but we're looking for my opportunity to squeeze that in there. So that's all I have to report.
I also wanted to just thank Megan for the concert. That was awesome. That light show, whatever that was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that. So thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Go ahead, sir.
That's all right.
Oh, okay.
I want to thank Megan too. And if you guys don't ever get a chance to go see the Challengers play baseball, you got to do it. It's amazing, fun group of kids. If you don't know what the Challengers are, they're special needs kids. They play softball or baseball against us. And we had one of the kids, I coach in basketball, and he had a Superman suit on in basketball. And so I asked him when he was at the baseball field, I said, "Hey, Ryan," I said, "where's your Superman suit?" And he says, "Don't go there, chubby." So, and then we had another incident the second time, and Megan could probably tell you that a little bit better than I can, but it's an amazing thing if you guys get out there and get some support to the special needs kids. And again, Megan, you do a wonderful job.
Indeed. Okay, moving on to possible action on pending legislation.
Mayor and Honorable Council, Joe Perdetto, Director of Government Affairs. Staff is bringing to you for consideration a position to oppose SB 94. SB 94 is in a proposal to allow inmates on death row or serving life without parole the opportunity to petition for a reduced sentence. Voters passed in 1990, on June 5th, Prop 115, which removed a judge's ability to dismiss special circumstance enhancements. Judges may still remove special circumstances to convictions prior to June 5th, 1990. That has to be done on the petition of a prosecutor, the Department of Corrections, or a judge. This law would change it so that individuals can petition for their own reduction in sentencing. The argument for SB 94 is that the inmates serving life without parole after 20 years of service are low-risk offenders for reentry. The argument against SB 94 is that it undermines the intent of the people of California, that they passed Prop 115 to begin with, and also later Prop 62 in 2016 and Prop 34 in 2012 to uphold the death penalty. This bill is opposed by the State Sheriff's Association, the DA's Association, and the Highway Patrolmen's Association, and San Bernardino County's DA Operations, where it sits today. And so for you as consideration, the opportunity to take a position of opposition to this bill.
Thank you, sir. Great report. Is there questions of staff? Okay, then let's see if we'll support that. So is there a motion to approve this item and oppose Senate Bill 94?
I'll move. Sorry, good.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Venable, and a second by Councilman Thorpe. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 5-0.
On how the city and residents have been using the Yucaipa app. Some of the city council members have received feedback lately, so we wanted to take this opportunity to share with you how it's working and how we've incorporated some of that feedback. So first, we're going to share with you a video that walks you through the interface and how the public uses it and how the city uses it, and then we'll talk about some of our specific achievements.
This is Michelle. She loves her city. Michelle helps take care of her community. Whenever she finds issues like potholes, graffiti, trash, crime, and light pole issues, she reports it right away on her city's mobile app. Her city app has the Report an Issue feature that allows her to report issues from her phone. Her reports and her fellow citizens' reports are received by the respective departments instantly. John and the Public Works staff automatically get notified of the issues received by email or through the web content management system. From his desk, he manages all the issues, adding an estimated resolution date on each issue to help the department keep track of all issues. John can change the status of each issue, add notes, change issue type, and assign a staff member responsible to resolve it. Tony, our field staff, receives the issues on his mobile device. It helps him move through issues quicker and more efficiently. Through the mobile responsive content management system, Tony can easily manage each issue as they come in, wherever he is. At home, Michelle receives a notification that the issue she reported has been resolved. Through the city app, Michelle is kept updated on all the issues she's reported in the My Reports section. She can send additional notes, receive status changes, and receive direct messages from the city staff. Back in the office, John also receives an update that the issue has been resolved. He can effortlessly browse accurate data and analytics and download them into his computer for a department report. The CMS provides a wide range of issue reporting analytics that helps his office and his team make important decisions on the fly, like resource allocation, risk management plans, and budgeting. My Civic Apps, making your city brighter and smarter.
So a little recap, the city launched the app in the summer of 2019. Since that time, as of last week, the app has been downloaded on more than 3,500 devices. And we have received more than 5,400 issues reported through the app. Now, the app is really the city's primary tool for organizing our public works workflow. And I just want to point out, a majority of the issues reported will probably not surprise you, relate to street issues. A majority of the street issues relate to potholes. Parks issues rank a distant second. And I do want to point out that the app is built specifically for mobile, but the vendor also has a web link too. So anyone with a desktop can also report issues. When residents call in to the city to report an issue, our staff actually imports the issue into the app so that it goes into the workflow. So the public has direct access to the very same tools that the city staff are using to track and manage issues. So a couple of the things we have received feedback on relate to residents not getting feedback on their issues. So staff took a look at some of our options. One of the things that the app allows residents to do is to report issues anonymously. And if they do, then the system has no information to provide them responses. So in that event, the app does provide an opportunity for anyone who has reported an issue by their phone to go into their phone and find the status under My Reports. The app also has a link on our website where people can just see the status of any issue that's been reported. To address the specific concern about people not getting a response, staff has decided to test a configuration that would require an email address from those making a report so that they get the response regardless. And that's just a test. If we get feedback from the council or the public that they want to preserve the option to report anonymously, we can revert the change. We will just have to deal with folks that maybe not getting a response. So that's something we're testing now that should address some of those concerns about not getting notifications. It's also helpful for us if we have questions about a report, we have some contact information to follow up with them. The video talked about some of the benefits, but again, some of the benefits is that the app really does help us organize our workflow and monitor, and you saw some of the maps that the video showed, showing heat maps so we can see where problem locations are and we can address some of those specific concerns and allocate more time and money there. And then going back to when the residents help us by reporting by app and it goes directly into our workflow, it really cuts out middlemen who have to answer phone calls or emails. It's just very efficient and direct. The public's always welcome to call and email, but the most direct, effective route to getting attention to an issue, using the app. So here, this is something that you're seeing for the first time. This is a report that David put together that on a monthly basis, one of the points that the app on the previous slide was that the app helps the city be accountable. And this is going to be a monthly report that we run and share with the public. And it is a report on how we are addressing pothole complaints specifically, since that tends to be the most hot button issue. We're going to be very transparent with the public. We're going to tell how many potholes have been reported in a month, how many we fixed in a month, how many days it took from report to completion that it took to fix. It even has our staff's average time on addressing a case. Right now, what we see is our 3 public works staff for 197 lane miles is insufficient. You could see it, the numbers. So what we plan to do is just be transparent on how we plan to improve. And later tonight, you will be presented with the on-call pothole filling contracts. If approved, we're actually going to get to see the data in monthly basis on how that's helping us close that gap. It's really allowing us to tell the city and the residents that you have made the right allocation, right decisions, and allocation of resources to address their concern. And this is going to be our way of telling that story on a monthly basis. So this will go out for the first time tomorrow. Based on feedback, we'll make it better, we'll change it. That's the beautiful thing about this app is it allows us to take feedback and make it better. We're working to make it better every week. So that's a quick summary of the app. Again, we want to let you know and have confidence that when people ask you about certain issues, how to report issues, that you could encourage them to use the app. It's the same tools that the city staff's using, and it really helps the city. And when you are out and passing that message on, you can tell residents that they can help the city by seeing something and saying something and using the app to report it. So it's efficient, it's effective, and every week we're working to make it a little bit better and better. And that's the report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, sir. Great report. Is there questions of staff? Councilman Thorpe.
Joe, so if this on-call pothole service is passed, how then will they update the system that those potholes have been repaired and they've been repaired to the city's standards of the required repair? So in other words, the vendor comes out and patches the hole. Are we sending someone out to verify that it's done appropriately, or they have access to go in and say, we've done it, and we just take their word for it?
I will let Fermin, but I suspect we have an inspection process in place where after completing a pothole, we would inspect the work, much like we would do any private contractor.
So then our staff would be the ones putting it in. The vendor wouldn't be putting any of that information in then, correct?
I presume that would be, yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
So just to clarify, the vendor doesn't have access to the pothole vendor doesn't have access to this app to update it. That's something our staff would have to do. Okay.
Yeah, I got some questions. So what is the response time once someone puts something on that app? Well, what's the response time?
It depends, but on the report here, for potholes specifically, it's 10.1 days from the time they report it to the time that we fix it on average. and it depends on the issue that's being reported.
So with this app, are you able to, I don't know, is there something on the app where you can, if there's criminal activity, if there's a homeless issue, are you able to put something on this app to,
Yes.
get
So
all
the
the
app-
officers?
Yep, the app allows you to report all of those functions. And the city, a couple months ago, launched WeTip, which is even an anonymous, non-emergency tool. So that has a
That's
link
on the
through
app?
the app as well.
Okay.
Yep. And I'll point out that Shane, through his days at Caltrans, reports that it was about 30 days to fill a pothole. So we're doing better than that. Not that that should be our measure of success, but I do just want to point out that with this reporting and accountability, we can be very transparent and show our progress. So these are just base numbers, and the intent is to make them, to lower that number down to just a day or two, right?
So
Eventually,
what,
but,
sorry,
yep.
so what would be the response time for, say, criminal activity or homeless issues?
We can pull the data and share that. I don't know off the top of my head.
I would ask to anybody who's listening that wants to use this app to report criminal activity, please go through the sheriff's dispatch. Don't use the app if you're able to. The sheriff's department has a huge and very healthy criminal intelligence unit that tracks analytics, and they have dispatchers that are trained to ask questions that pull information from you that you know, but you don't think about because you're not in the job. The app is good. Let's use it for potholes. Let's use it for park issues. If there's a crime taking place, and for some reason we're seeing a spike in crime in our city right now, call 911. Let's let those men and women, those heroes of the sheriff's department do their work to keep our city safe. Let's use this app for city business and let the sheriff's department be the ones who handle criminal stuff. We do have WeTip for big things, but I think we're missing the point on this app if we're using it to report criminal activity. I think the sheriff's department would probably say the same thing. I don't want to speak for them, but their analytics and at the Sheriff's Intelligence Division really rely on phone calls and the information that the dispatchers are able to withdraw from callers. So let's not use this app if we can to report criminal activity. The Sheriff's Department has plenty of methods in place to do that. Any further questions of staff?
Yeah, is this, we launched this back in 2019? Did we launch it with a lot of fanfare? Because I don't remember this app, did we? And is this something we purchased offline, or we modified to fit our needs, or how did that work?
Yeah, it's an off-the-shelf software. The vendor provides it, and then we can customize it to a certain degree based on our needs.
It's a great idea, for sure.
Quick comment. So thank you for bringing it forward and addressing some of those things, because I've been the one sending in a lot of different comments and stuff and getting feedback from my district. So thank you for the staff and everyone that's worked on it to bring that forward. So appreciate it.
Indeed. All right, so this is a receive and file, so we're going to take it at that. Thank you, sir. That was a good report. I'm hoping we get to see this, or rather, I'm excited to see this next month come back, and we get to see some of these reports of us improving our, getting better every time for our response times for these potholes. That is a huge issue that we've always seemed to be trying to address here. And what a phenomenal segue to roll item number 8, where we can hear all about maybe how we can do better and be better for the citizens of this fine community.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council, and thank you. This report before you is for the award of contracts for on-call asphalt pavement repair and replacement services. And as we just heard with the last presentation, the condition of our asphalt pavement on our streets throughout the city is one of the most commonly reported concerns from our residents, especially with the recent weather that we've had over the last storm season. And our city app is one of the ways that we hear about these potholes and other similar pavement failures brought to the city's attention. We still, of course, get people coming into the counter at City Hall or calling or emailing in, and the app is a great way for us to be able to track some of that data as it comes in. Our public works staff and our whole team here at the city work hard to ensure that those concerns are addressed as quickly as possible, while we continue to explore opportunities to increase our efficiencies in doing so. The city has recently increased its capabilities to fix potholes on a day-to-day basis with recent equipment upgrades. The addition of our hot asphalt pavement repair trailer allows us to transport larger quantities of hot asphalt into the city, and therefore staff can repair the smaller scale pavement failures, what we refer to as potholes. typically 4x4, 16 square foot or smaller in that range. And with that new equipment, we're able to address more potholes and in those repairs in a shorter time period, even during cooler temperatures, during transport of that material, and guarantee a larger, higher quality, longer lasting repairs. And then on April 10th here, just this year, Council adopted 11 goals for 2023, one of which was taking a more inclusive and aggressive approach to road maintenance. And with the wrapping up of the current microsurfacing contract that's underway last week and this week, and the recent approval of the draft PMP for next fiscal year, we'll continue to see a significant amount of roadway maintenance construction in advance of the next storm season, including another round of street rehab, the grind and overlay construction work, and another round of microsurfacing coming soon, later this year. And also our 5-year citywide pavement analysis, also known as that recalibration effort, has begun with some upfront engineering and planning that's underway. And you will be seeing that testing equipment with our consultant performing that pavement analysis throughout the city to establish that street-by-street pavement condition index that's used as the basis for our prioritizing our pavement maintenance streets with the upcoming 5-year pavement management programs. And staff will continue to provide updates as that process continues. At the March 13th, 2023 City Council meeting, Council provided staff with direction to issue a request for proposals, an RFP for on-call asphalt pavement repair services, recognizing the potential benefits of having a list of qualified paving contractors capable of quickly repairing and or replacing sections of failing pavement, primarily in areas that are larger than our staff can handle with those typical more smaller pothole repairs that can be addressed by city staff with that newer equipment. Subsequently, staff issued an RFP seeking proposals for contractors who can provide on-call asphalt repair and replacement services, specifically requiring that repair work be completed within a 5 working day window after those call for repairs come in from city staff. The RFP was advertised with the intent of awarding an on-call list of contractors that could be called upon based on a rotation schedule in order to ensure a prompt response to those needs. For example, if the one contractor were first on that rotation schedule and they had a larger project that they were underway with that particular week, we could move to give that opportunity to the next contractor that was more readily available. The scope of work identified in this RFP included the removal and replacement of existing asphalt pavement sections that were failing. It was anticipated that these pavement patches that are failing would vary in size, typically ranging between a 4x4 foot section to maybe a 10x25 foot section, and maybe even larger sections. The RFP required that the contractors submit with their proposal, with their qualifications and experience, basis of payment, a cost proposal form, and that would be used not only to evaluate the proposals, but also to be the basis for payment based on work performed at that time. Upon evaluation of the proposals that we received, an evaluation committee made up of staff concluded that 3 contractors were most qualified and are being recommended for contracts this evening. They include B81 Paving, Inc., Vance Corporation, and Hardy & Harper. All contractors have provided similar asphalt repair services for the city on past projects, and their work has been deemed satisfactory. Staff is recommending approval of items 1 through 3 as listed in the report for 3 separate on-call contracts with each contractor in the amount of $110,000 each, approximately $10,000 for the remainder of the current fiscal year, and for the subsequent 2 fiscal years would be $50,000 each year for each contractor. The anticipated total fiscal impact of $330,000 over those 3 fiscal years are covered by the current fiscal year 22-23 PMP that's being proposed with this year's budget and will be proposed with the future operating budgets and PMPs in subsequent years. For me, and if you'd like to add anything, please feel free to do so, and we'll be happy to both answer any questions that you may have on the report.
Perfect. Great staff report. I'll lead off with a question. Is this a new concept for cities to employ multiple asphalt contractors so as to not be reliant on one that might be down because of a large project or other issues?
This is a common approach that cities take with just emergency work in general. I know that there are some cities that do have on-call asphalt repair services.
How come we've never considered this before?
Well, we actually have, excuse me, we actually have several on-call contracts for other types of services, inspection, environmental, even material testing, concrete testing. We haven't taken this approach before, but we have had, we currently have one contractor that is under contract for emergency purposes, but we've never taken this approach, and we feel that when it comes to these potholes, you saw the large number of reports that we've had over the years, and there are actually two different types of potholes. There's the ones that are visible on top, where the structural integrity of the asphalt is still okay, and there's the ones where there's a structural failure underneath the asphalt. The ones those asphalts that are fixed and then they come back, those are the ones that there's something wrong underneath. And so we're hoping that with these contracts, we can actually replace that. But to answer your question, it is a new approach for the city, and we feel it's going to improve efficiency, and it's going to improve how quickly we resolve these potholes that have that structural deficiency.
I think if I may add to some of the concerns we receive on the app or in general are maybe characterized as potholes, but as Fermin described, some of those are actually a little bit of a larger issue that are deeper and take more time and more resources and equipment and cost more to repair. And so I think perhaps with time we'll see that average day and our ability to respond to those potholes or just pavement failures in general will go down because of more access to the equipment and resources that these contractors will have.
Yeah, probably, I think of late we've received a lot of emails, but probably the biggest email complaint that I get and phone calls are the conditions of our roadways in the city. A few weeks ago, I had one of our citizens that live up on the east side of town compared our roads to a third world country and said that she's been to third world countries that have better roads than the city of Yucaipa, which was painful to hear. Certainly, it brings along with it a dangerous component that, a pothole that could flatten the vehicle's tire could take down a motorcycle, and we certainly have plenty of motorcycles. And then we just proclaimed that May is Bicyclist Month, and now you put a bicycle in that same pothole, we're going to have some other issues. So I think it's phenomenal we're taking a forward approach to getting proactive and instead of more reactive and getting out there to fix these potholes as fast as we can. So thank you for that. Is there anybody else have questions of staff?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. Why are we using companies from Lake Forest and Anaheim? We couldn't find a couple of companies from, say, Redlands, Mentone.
We received 5 proposals. We did actively pursue all of the local firms that we have worked with in the past and really tried to get the word out. One of those proposals was not complete, so we did receive 4 complete proposals that were evaluated. I know B81 is from Yucaipa and Vance is from Beaumont, so those 2 were local. Hardy and Harper has provided work for us here before, and I know they have equipment that's available that we spoke with them and they are available to get here quickly. Even though their headquarters, their office location where all of their admin staff is in Lake Forest, they're able to get here quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have somebody going out to inspect these potholes, make sure that we're just not putting a Band-Aid over something that's, because we spend a lot of money on potholes.
Agreed.
These contractors will be completing this work under an encroachment permit that's issued by the city, and we'll call them out to address the asphalt repairs and the potholes in certain areas, and we'll know where they're going to be at. We'll know their schedules, and our public works inspector will be out there to ensure that it's done per the Green Book standards and city
But the ones that we repair, we're having somebody go out and check those as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are repaired by our staff, and our 4 of our public works staff members have received training in pothole repair and asphalt placement. So you couldn't not see it in the photo, but the asphalt trailer, it actually has a hot tank in it where you could tack and it has a compressor so you can clean out the pothole and then tack it and apply the hot asphalt.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries 5-0. All right, this time we'll move on to item number 9. This is the final item of the night, and this is a public hearing. So I will open the public hearing for item number 9. Item number 9. It is 6:49 PM. And
Mr. Mayor, on this item, I live very close to the project, so I'm going to have to recuse myself.
very well. Councilman Thorpe, thank you. All right, so the presenter is Mr. Matlock for a staff presentation. Mr. City Attorney, at what point do we disclose any ex parte communication with either party?
You can do it after the staff report, or you can do it before the staff report, whichever one you
Let's do it before. Councilman Gardner, anything to report?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan.
So this item has come before this council now twice, I think, right? Once or twice that I know of, and we've all, if we've been up here for any length of time at all, we've been exposed to or been confronted with this issue. I have discussed this item with the owner of the property. I've discussed it here on the dais. I've discussed it with the entitlement specialist. So I've had a lot of communication about it. So that's my.
Councilman Venable. I'm good. None to report. I heard it last time it was before this council. Have had no discussions since that time. And yeah, that's the only, I've received some emails from, or I received an email, I believe, report asking me to deny the project. Okay, so Mr. Matlock, the floor is yours.
All right, being honorable mayor and city council members, before you is case number 22-121. This is an appeal and kind of modified project proposal from what was originally known as 21-085. This project itself consists of a general plan amendment to change the land use designation from the city's RM10M multiple residential district to RM24, which is our high density residential district. Then also includes a land use compliance review and architecture review for a 172 unit gated two-story multiple family apartment project. Project itself has been submitted by Nova Homes and is being represented by Premium Land Development. So the property itself is within 8.6 acres between 2nd and 3rd Street north of County Line Road and south of Avenue H. Is currently, as I mentioned, RM10M. The property itself does feature kind of a mix of different parcels with 4 different single-family residences that would be demolished as part of the development of this project, and itself is surrounded by both multiple and single-family residential development. So as kind of the general plan amendment, it is isolated to the properties, kind of shown with the dashed line area, kind of showing its proximity to County Line Road, and some of the adjoining uses. So there's commercial uses south of the property and to the west, and then certainly Calamasa Elementary School directly to the east and slightly north of the property as well. Now the project itself, as I mentioned, this is kind of a reevaluation of what was 21-085. This was initially for a 200-unit, 3-story apartment project. This was reviewed at August 3rd and 17th, 2022 Plan Commission meetings. And then ultimately the Plan Commission did deny that proposal with concerns related to the general plan location and kind of the scale of the project. This was then appealed to the City Council and presented at the October 24th, 2022 meeting. This is where the 22-121 appeal designation for the project came through. As part of it, the applicant did agree to revise the project to a 2-story structure, and then they did identify that would need a waiver, a regulatory waiver for the landscape requirements in order to accommodate kind of the larger footprint of the 2-story units. During that hearing and deliberation between the City Council and the applicant, they did agree to reduce the number of units to approximately 175 units to address some of the concerns and to maintain a 2-story design project. The council ultimately voted to remand this item back to the Plan Commission so that the final site design could be reviewed through the Plan Commission's eyes and then brought back to City Council afterwards. So this is kind of the alternative site plan that was proposed at the City Council meeting. This is for the 175 units. It did include 88 one-bedroom units, 108 two-bedroom units, and then 4 three-bedroom units. And then this was initially for the 200 units, and then certainly the applicant did agree to revise the project down to 175 units. And then this was revised again further and ended up being resubmitted as a 172-unit project. The project itself was reviewed at the January 18th, 2023 Plan Commission meeting. And based on the changes that were made and the emphasis towards the two-story design and some of the setbacks, the changes of landscaping and kind of the overall scale difference from the 200-unit project, the Plan Commission did recommend 5-1 and 1 for approval for City Council's consideration. Their minutes are attached in the agenda packet. So this kind of gives you at least kind of a scale between the two different projects. So it's a very similar looking project scale from what was the 200-unit three-story building project to the 172 two-story project. Really kind of the major difference between the two different projects is with the two-story foundation is the building pad area is a little bit larger to accommodate, more units within a smaller kind of footprint. And so that really is kind of the key differences. However, some of the amenities for the project remain the same in both project designs. And then there's some modification to some of the landscape borders for the project as well. And so this right here is a rendering that shows what was the three-story proposal, and then this is the two-story. So certainly you can see the scale of the overall project has diminished with the smaller buildings, and it's a little bit more compact and a little bit ties in better with the two-story and single-story residences that surround this general area of the project site. Now, as part of the project, so I mentioned it is a general plan amendment. That's kind of the first action is to rezone to allow the proposed density that's contemplated. And then the second part is the land use compliance review, which is the actual project itself. With the 172 units, it does consist of 8 different two-story structures with 20 to 24 units within each structure. As part of the site design, I do want to note, pursuant to state law and the parking requirements, 280 parking spaces are required. However, this project does provide in excess of that with 346 shown on the plan. So they did overpark based on what the state law requirements are. And then the project itself does identify 172 units with 10% of them affordable. Based on meeting the MITs for that and providing the amenities as proposed, it does include 64 one-bedroom units, 100 two-story, and then 8 three-bedroom units. So it's a little bit smaller scale units from what was originally the 200-unit project that was submitted before. And then certainly the project does provide amenities which are required as part of the city's multiple family design guidelines and the development code standards. And so in this particular case, it does include 2 different tot lot areas, a dog park, picnic area, a pool, and then a clubhouse. And then there's also individual private space for each individual unit as well. So it does provide the amenities that's required per the code, and then certainly kind of upper scale amenities with the clubhouse and pool feature for the residents as well. As part of the site design, it does provide 3 different points of access, 1 along 3rd Street and then 2 along 2nd Street, with kind of the major access points along the southern end of 2nd Street and then the 3rd Street as well. And then kind of the 2nd Street itself is more just emergency exit only lane. So it's allow residents to get through if they need to, but it's not necessarily the primary access for it. And then as part of the circulation, I do want to note as well, through the initial review, the applicant did agree to provide street improvements outside of the project boundary to connect to the roundabout improvements along County Line Road, and then also provide additional pedestrian improvements north of the property on the eastern side, which would connect to Cal Mesa Elementary School. So the conditions are reflected, showing that they are responsible for making all those pedestrian connections and better facilitating the passage of pedestrians through this area and connecting to Cal Mesa Elementary School as well. So as part of the application, they do provide an architecture review. It does kind of a Spanish, kind of Mediterranean style influence for the design with kind of the S tiles or the concrete tiles, kind of the different features at the table, and then kind of protecting patios for the residents as well as part of the private open space. And then the clubhouse feature has been designed to complement that design as well. And then color materials were provided as part of the initial review and kind of shown on here. So very kind of neutral colors that match that architectural style that's proposed. And then I do want to note, as part of the project itself, it does include a density bonus agreement for 10% of the units to be low income affordable. This is to help meet the city's regional housing needs allocation of 2866, in particular the 493 units that are for the low income category. As part of it, they are requesting one concession, which is the reduction of landscaping from 40% to 37.2. And this, again, is to address, by using the two-story structure and having a little bit more units that aren't necessarily as vertical, is it does take up a little bit more space on that footprint, and so that's the concession that's being requested. And then a formal density bonus agreement will be required to be reviewed by City Council at a future date. As part of the project itself, an initial study in MND was prepared for the 200-unit project, and all impacts were identified to be less than significant. As part of the reduction, so going from 200 units to 172, the impacts are a little bit less than what was initially analyzed, and so that MND remains applicable for the review of this project. And then based on the soon-to-be outdated development impact fee schedule, approximately $2 million would be paid to the city's development impact fee program. And then attached are some site photos just kind of showing the general condition of the overall site with some of the different residences that are proposed to be demolished. And then the project itself, as I mentioned, was reviewed by the Planning Commission and recommended for approval, and I am happy to answer any questions. And I know the applicant and their representative is also here to answer questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions of staff, or do you want to wait until after you hear the applicant's presentation? All right, let's do that. Applicant/representative presentation.
Gentlemen, good evening. It'd be a lot easier if we could do this on the app. A couple of things I want to point out, if you can bring up the site plan. I know he's gone through it, and you guys have heard this a few times, and so I just wanted to give you some reminders here on some of the things that are going on. The reason why we are doing the off-site improvements is because from the exit here, entrance exit on 2nd, and also over here on 3rd Street, there are drainage issues, there's no curbs and gutter and sidewalk and that, so we're making this so that it can be walked to the remainder of the way to the roundabouts. Over here on 2nd Street, we are coming up this way with the sidewalk to connect to the current sidewalk up there so that the school children have a way to get to the crosswalk there so that they can cross to the school. I also want to note today in talking to the property owner that even though there will be a crossing guard there, they are willing to make sure they have someone on staff during school season to walk the kids from the facility to the crossing guard, or make sure they get out of the facility safely and stay on the sidewalks. One of the things that we did, as you know, is we took it down from 3 stories to 2 stories, from 225 and then 200 units to 172. The setbacks along the perimeter, while this originally, in the old plan, there was actually parking on this side too. We've made it all come to the other side, so it isn't up against the wall there. There is a large setback from here to the existing residence there, and from the houses over here, to give you some examples, so you just have an idea. From here to the nearest building is 87 feet. From here to the nearest building is 92. Up here in the front, it's a 81 foot from here to the front. Back on this side, if you go from this corner of the building back to the resident that's over here, it's a 269 feet. And kind of back over in here, it's 266 feet. So in some cases, it's almost a football field of difference between where the houses are along County Line Road and where the second story would be. One benefit to this project over a condominium project that could be done under the previous zoning is that the buildings are set back so far. If it was a condominium project, they would probably be up about, well, like the previous design, about 10 feet from the wall. So they would be a little more prevalent, a little more prominent. Traffic, we did a study. We didn't make the numbers up. We hired the traffic analysis firm to do the study. It worked at 225. It certainly works at 172 from a qualified traffic engineer. You'll hear talk about school attendance, about the schools are overcrowded. That's not true. I came here before you and read a letter from Callie Binks, the school superintendent, that said that these schools have capacity and need students. All the studies have been done that needed to be done. A nice project like this brings value to the community. It's not because it's an apartment project, the prices are gonna come down. It actually brings people in the community to do more to their houses. And of course, there's existing houses here that are gonna come down and one over here as well. This basin will handle all of the drainage from the site. It all flows this way. And then a lot of the drainage that comes from the gated community up here, and then of course the apartment project here, which doesn't have any drainage facilities, neither one of them, will come down and be caught into the new catch basins that are down by the roundabout. I do have a few other things I can go over, but I know you've got quite a few people to hear here for a minute. So I know you're going to hear about traffic, which has been handled, safety, which has been handled. Remember that people can only go out of these gates one car at a time. They're not running out into the street like it's left open. These are gated exits and entrances. School overcrowding is not an issue. This is the general plan, but it makes most sense for this. And I'll explain a little bit as we talk about it after a little while why it makes sense, why there aren't any more areas for R24 zoning in the city. And that's it. I'm open to any questions, and I will be available for rebuttal.
Thank you. Questions of staff or the presenter?
How many times did you change this project?
Well, continually, but overall 3 times. But, sometimes it was, okay, let's change the setbacks. Okay, let's change the unit mix. Okay, let's change the open space area. Okay, let's give more amenities. Okay, let's...
What made you do that? I mean, was it the city?
No, it was community.
Community?
In communications with the community. And, I don't know what the number is today, but the first time we came up here, we had about 25 residents from the local community that didn't like the project. And the last time we appeared here at City Council, there was only 2 or 3 from the local community there. Most of them were from other parts of Yucaipa. So we worked as much as we could with the local neighbors to get something that they were comfortable with at the time.
And the Planning Commission had you change a few things as well?
Yeah, we talked about it. In fact, Mayor Beaver had been one of the ones who had mentioned making the changes and bringing it back to take a look at and letting the Planning Commission take a look at it. So yeah, before both bodies. This dates all the way back to Mayor Avila and Bogue and so forth, so.
And when it went to the Planning Commission, did it pass from?
5 yes votes, yes.
I'm sorry?
5 yes votes.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to public comment.
I have a question.
Sir.
So how are we going to manage this project if this project is approved? Are we going to have like a professional management company on site? We're going to have an off-site company?
No, absolutely, there'll be professional management. Something this size will have maintenance people, managers, things of that nature, just like any larger scale place, especially a nicer place. But yeah, even I've heard it mentioned in the past about who's going to live in these apartments and how many families are going to move into them and that kind of stuff. That's all managed by the management company. Anywhere time you go into a place like this and people are there that don't belong there, they get kicked out. They're not allowed to stay.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to public comment.
Thank you.
And then we will come back to you with the rebuttal if necessary. So the first speaker, Mr. Randy Main, followed by Mr. Arthur Walter, Again, it's a 3-minute time limit. If you could please state your name and your address, please.
Randy Main, 13630 Second Street, directly next door to the project. So the project seems fairly heavy. On one side, more people. On the other side, that the state has asked for more housing. So I've asked for a few things. Block wall. I came to the city hall and said, what about the sidewalk? And, they putting a sidewalk in front, and the setback was changed. So everything that was asked for was done. It looks like a very professional project to me, and I am right there looking at it. So it looks okay to me. That's about all I can tell you. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Arthur Walter, followed by Mr. Thomas Murphy.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, my name's Arthur Walter, 13428 2nd Street, Yucaipa. One thing that keeps, they keep taking and saying, oh, the school can handle 800 people, no problem. The road cannot. There is no way that that road can handle the extra amount that is going to be generated by these apartments. 174, let it sink in. 174 units. Right there, very near the corner, right across from the school. It's ludicrous. Nobody should even be considering this, and yet, what can I say? Once again, it looks as though it keeps getting denied, it keeps getting switched around, but it's actually the number of people that are going to be there in danger, taking and trying to come out of there while other kids are going to school, while traffic is going in and out, and people are lined up to drop off their kids. Some park along the street. They take and walk their kids up to the school from along the way, and it's just going to be a total bottleneck. And I think, once again, it's an accident waiting to happen. And I think that the city needs to be held totally responsible, that if they take and pass something like this, that they should be sued up the yin-yang. That's all there is to it. There's just no reason for it. I tried to come up with one more thing here. Just the idea that these people are able to keep coming back. What happens the next time? Do they say, oh, well, we'll take 140 the next time? Well, we'll take 120 the next time. How many times do you get a chance to take and just keep taking and doing it again and again and again? It's already been in front of us. We've shown our disapproval. 172 is still double the general plan, and it's still high density. There's no reason for it whatsoever. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Thomas Murphy, followed by Mrs. Erica Murphy.
Council, Mayor, Bobby, good to see you, buddy. Hey, here we are again, once again. We keep seeing the same plan, same floor plan, same everything else. But the problem is 175 is now going to bring in 350 vehicles, another 175 families, right? Nobody lives over there but us. You guys don't have to contend with it. Definitely the developer's not going to contend with it, nor his developer or whoever he is. He's going to have to deal with it. We are. It's not fair. It's been voted down. Thank you, Mayor. You shot it down last time. We're hoping that you'll shoot it down again. The zoning has been there, and when he bought the first batch of property, probably 10, 11 years ago, he knew what it was zoned then. Last year, he picked up some of the frontage property on the 2nd Street side, right? He knew what it was zoned then. Why does greed? Well, I'm not going to call it greed. He wants to maximize his investment. I understand that. But not at the cost of those that are around him. The amenities in here, okay. They get a swimming pool. Do we get to use it? Is it actually going to make our values go up? And if it does, our property taxes are going to go up. We're in the no-win situation with this monstrosity, period. The guy misled us from the beginning, saying that he owned that land for a long time. Well, unfortunately, he owned a portion of it for a long time. And it wasn't until I brought it forward that he came clean with it at the last meeting with you all back in November. That, oh, you know, he's sat on so much for so many years, and then he picked up the frontage on 2nd. Okay? Deceitful, right? Not disclosing that up front until he was tagged on it. It's just the way it rolls. And it's like, you know what? That's wrong. We shouldn't have to live with another 200 families of noise. It's not right. It's not fair. He bought it knowing what it was zoned. Let him build his 80 units. No problem. Do your thing. The area around it is all single stories with the exception of Terra Glen. Everything else is single stories. It doesn't fit. It's just an eyesore. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Erica Murphy, followed by Mr. Darrell Mack.
Good evening, everyone. Erica Murphy, 34736 County Line Road. And just to tag along with what just my husband just said, and just to make a comment about what you say, Chris, how many times we have come over this issue to the city council? A few times. But it's like trying to put with all respect, like a 12-foot size foot on an 8-foot shoe size. It doesn't fit. You know, the high density does not apply to this part of the city. Maybe in another part of Yucaipa, there is open land where we can put apartments and things, which I see that they're being built already. But in the size of the street that we have currently, it doesn't fit. We brought up the issues of safety. The crime is going to increase, not only the property taxes, everything is just not going to be beneficial for us. So, and it seems that you guys are like just giving deaf ears to what we're trying to bring up to you guys. So I know the city has to build a certain amount of housing. I understand that, and I agree with that. But like we have brought up to you guys, the zoning was set up for a certain amount of units. Why is he trying to go and overmine that? If he builds what the zoning is built, you know, what's supposed to be done, there's no problem. We never even had an issue coming here to ask you for like, okay, listen to us, because it was right. But he's trying to go and just undermine not only the community, but you guys. And you guys are just don't listen. You guys are not understanding what we're trying to say. And it's just the kids are at risk. The gentleman here said it's like, well, we're gonna have a staff, but it's not just the one time. It's around it. The crime is too many issues to speak about, and it's just like you get here and you just go blank here. But you heard it all already, And it's not just a matter of fairness, it's just what it's right. And this is wrong. And we see how the country is just going haywire, and it's happening here in our city. And you guys serve the public, and it says, "In God we trust," and we trust that God will intervene and that you guys will do the right thing, and just for the whole community. And I don't have anything else to say. I just hope that you guys take in mind everything that we brought to you guys.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Darrell Mack, followed by Ms. Judy Main.
Evening. My name is Darrell Mack. I live at 34752 County Line Road. First of all, I want to say he said he went from 200 to 172. The first was a condominiums put in with a through street, which were 74. So he actually went from 74 to 2 to 172. So it wasn't doing us any favors either way he goes. Anyway, on these public notices, I think that being these high-density apartments are surrounded by two-lane streets everywhere. You got to go a mile down to Calamasa Boulevard to get a four-lane street. It's kind of ridiculous. I think everybody from Mesa Grande, from Avenue H to L should have been notified about these apartments. They're going to be running county line.
Mr. Mack, can you speak into the microphone, please?
They're going to be running county line and Avenue L, everything to get access to County Line Road, to the freeway. So I think everybody should be included. It's not just affecting us in the neighborhood, it's going to be all the way up. As far as those roundabouts, when you talk about designing or traffic studies, I got behind a semi on 2nd Street. He couldn't get around it. He had to struggle and back up. What you guys need to do, I don't know if County Line's a truck route or California is, but that these things should be posted either truck route with a 38-foot kingpin, because if they're sitting at 40, they can't make those turns. And you guys actually have more sidewalk on these roundabouts than you do for the traffic to get through. I thought California was going to be a double. Everywhere you go, like Ontario, I think they're putting in 10,000 apartments there off the 10 freeway between Vineyard and Archibald. Well, those are 6-lane roads going up there, Archibald and that, and they're within a quarter to an eighth of a mile of the freeway. They're not running around in neighborhoods trying to get to work. All your high-density apartments being built in Yucaipa should be put close to the freeway. They shouldn't be running up and down through the city. You got the warehouse in Calamasa. You're going to have trucks. You're going to have cars backing up onto the freeway to get off at County Line now. You start adding more and more, like Tom said, another 300 cars. And then you got the apartments or the homes on, 2 sets of homes on 4th Street between County Line and H. You got those homes down in the wash on 5th Street. Those are all going to be using
Thank you, sir.
the roads.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Judy Main, followed by, I believe it's Gabrielle Allen. Gabriel Allen?
Hi, I'm Judy Main, live at 13630 2nd Street. Our property is on the north side of the project, about 650 feet of it. And this project has the look, when you look at it, and the colors and the design as, wow, that looks pretty cool. But in my gut, I just don't feel that going high density is the right thing for our neighborhood. They're allowing them 172 units, which we know are going to have 2 to 3 people in them. So we're going to be over 400 some people. Then over 300 plus cars, even though they have parking for us, the noise level is going to be intense of listening to cars going back and forth. When trash day happens, we're going to hear trash trucks going back and forth, let alone the amount of children walking to and from school. I just have a hard time with allowing this to go high density. And I do feel that the developer knew when he bought it that it wasn't high density. He took the chance, and I would like to see us say no, 172 apartments do not fit in a neighborhood of residential people. And I'd appreciate it if you didn't allow them to change the zoning for this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Ma'am, can we please hold the applause? Thank you. All right, next speaker is Gabrielle Allen, followed by Ms. Scarlett Parisi.
Good evening. My name is Gabrielle Allen, 34936 County Line Road. I'm right on 2nd Street. I am surprised that we're here again. I feel like the developer is like a child. He went to daddy, daddy said no. So now we're going to mommy and we're going to try mommy and see if mommy says yes. Anyway, their traffic engineer, we did check on that last time when it was voted down. The traffic pattern was done during COVID. So you don't have cars, students. Along with my neighbors, we would like to propose, we would like a new traffic study done, not during vacation, not during holidays, not on the weekend, actually when students are in class. We were told also there's only 400 some students in that elementary school, which is not true. It's close to 600. I feel like people come up here and say things, and unless you check it, you actually believe it. I also would like done an environmental study. We have owls, we have kangaroo rats, we have all kind of wildlife on the property now. We have a senior facility that is right next to the proposed property. If you would live in that area, you would know that we have fire and ambulance at least once or twice at that facility, along with a single lane or with a lane going each way where parents park. Everybody's in a rush to go to work. Kids get dropped off in between cars. Kids run across the street when the parents says, go, run, 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 and they're running across the street. It just can't hold it. Right now, when the kids are going to school in the morning, there's already an issue when there's an ambulance coming through or fire department's coming through. It just doesn't fit. And now you want to put 350 more cars on the street? So I would like a new traffic study. I would like an environmental study. And I just don't know why we're bringing this up here again and negotiating 170 some units when it is zoned for 86, 84, 82, whatever. With that, are we getting more law enforcement, more paramedic? Are we getting more fire department? I live on County Line. Everybody knows San Bernardino, Riverside County. So when you call for, one more minute, please?
No, ma'am.
30 seconds?
No, ma'am. Thank you for your
Thank
comments. Ms. Scarlett Parisi, I apologize, followed by Ms. Ashley Sepulveda.
My name's Scarlett Parisi. I live at 34912 San Carlos Street in Yucaipa. I feel the change to the general plan is not necessary. You're going to hear nothing new tonight. We've all been kind of saying the same things, so it's kind of a waste of time to do this again. Most of us accept and agree developmental growth in our town as it's necessary. Approval will only provide the maximum investment for the developer as a direct negative impact to us as neighbors. There's also so much going on in such a small concentrated area currently. It's just gonna continue that. The school, the elderly community, the new roundabout that people don't really know how to use as of yet with crosswalks in between it too. The emergency services are surely going to have a hard time getting through it if necessary with all that going on during the busy times of the day with the schooling. The traffic study, from what I understand, did not consider the traffic on or off the freeway as it was on the exterior of the radius studied. The gentleman stated that only one vehicle can exit at once. That's also the same for vehicles entering, which will continue to back up that street as well from any entrance or exit. To my knowledge, the developer or the rep of has not communicated with many neighbors, as he said. I know my door's not been knocked on, and I'm right across the street from Judy and Randy. The Mains have been the only family that I know of that have worked with or communicated directly to assist the change or the improvements to the plan. They are next door, but they're not the only people that are going to be impacted by the change. I'm happy to hear that so many of us in the community are against the growth of the project as I am.
Thank you. Ms. Ashley Sepulveda, followed by Ms. Holly Pinson.
Ashley Sepulveda, 34924 San Carlos Street. Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our concerns of our surrounding community. I know you've already heard the complaints of traffic and more people, etc. What it really comes down to is an apartment community does not belong in our single-family home housing tract. We are not against new development. We understand that it's needed, and something is needed to be put in the place where we have a vacant lot. All we ask is that it's the right development. I personally am okay and welcome more single-family homes, but I do not welcome a large apartment community. It does not fit, it does not belong. I also would like to say the fact that we have to be here again is crazy. The developers are fully aware of how to speak at a meeting, and they were very aware that we would be at the meetings to speak up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I've lost track. Was that Ashley that just spoke? Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. All right. Ms. Holly Pinson, followed by Mr. Kevin Miskin. Name and address, please, ma'am.
My name is Holly Pinson. I live at 34900 San Carlos Street in Yucaipa. I just wanted to say that I oppose this only because, well, mainly there's lots of reasons, but every road around this project is single lane. As of right now, when school is in session, I witnessed it one day, all the road was blocked. You could not go around it, and somebody had to go into somebody's yard to go around the vehicles that were stuck in the road. So, and that was just during school. I understand school traffic is, only about 20 minutes a day or whatever, but still that's a hazard for the community, right, the senior community right there, for emergency services and such not. It doesn't fit. The original amendment is for 72 or 80. Let's keep the original amendment. I don't think 172 would fit. My son lives in an apartment in San Diego, and we have to park in the surrounding neighborhoods to go visit him. I do not want a bunch of cars in my street taking up our street parking. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Kevin Miskin, followed by Dr. Hanson Wong.
Kevin Miskin, Ivy Avenue. The last time that this came before the City Council, I spoke and offered a compromise and suggested that a 10 to 20% increase in the housing density in its existing zoning was more than adequate and appropriate and reasonable. And I suggested that maximum, since I think it's 86 is what it's zoned for right now, 104 would certainly be reasonable. And I again propose that. I think you're hearing from the citizens, and the citizens are expressing that they don't want to see this kind of density in that kind of an area. And we hope that you'll be reasonable in listening to the people. But what I'm more concerned about is the reason that we're hearing this again. And I read through the packet, the agenda packet, and it said in the agenda packet that the reason that this is being heard again so soon is because of a settlement agreement between the city and the owner of the property. The basis of that settlement agreement was that at the last city council where this was heard, that there was disruption and disorderly conduct. I was here, I didn't see any of that. And I went back this afternoon and I re-listened starting at 2:59 on the February 13th city council meeting, and I re-listened to it. I heard no disruption. There was certainly some light applause and some modest applause, but I didn't hear any disruptive comments, and there was no chastisement or correction by you, Mayor, or any of the city council members. And so I'm concerned that this is being heard under the pretense and representation that it's based on disorderly conduct by the citizens. We hope you'll listen to the citizens. We hope you listen to the fact that we want to support the general plan. We're not against development, and we're even okay with a modest 10 to 20% increase. But this wholesale sellout of the general plan that we've seen, for instance, with 2 weeks ago and I agree with you, Bobby, you said in the last meeting, you said people have a right to develop their property as long as it's consistent with the zoning. Those are your words. We're asking you to do that and to be reasonable with us and to follow what you've promised to do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Dr. Hanson Wong, followed by Mr. Jackson Ferris.
Hi again. Hanson Wong, 35150 Court Street, Yucaipa. So I'm asking our entitlement specialist, got the word this time, as well as our city planner to, when they present this, present it according to the zoning. Because if you come in and say, well, we took it down from 225 to 175 or whatever, it gives you the misimpression that, they're bringing things down and everything's good. But I think we should start with what the zoning is. If you want to increase the zoning, change the zoning, fine. But please have it start, where the zoning says it should be, and then say, these are the reasons we're going to go up. Otherwise, the community and maybe you will have a missed idea of what should be there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last speaker, Mr. Jackson Ferris.
Hello. I'm Jackson Ferris. I live at 13589 Sun Creek Drive.
I'm sorry, what was your address?
13589 Sun Creek Drive.
13589 Sun Creek Drive, thanks.
So I'm soon to be living on my own, and I see the problems with the rising inflation and rising rent prices in our town, and not just our town, our city and our nation. And I'm just seeing a large problem, the lack of safe, low-income housing in our city. Because living in those safer, low-income housing areas would find it almost financially impossible to sustain myself while, working part-time and attending college. I see that these apartments are for, families, but I see that if this gets denied, it might hamper the production of future apartment complexes like this, more single-family, low-income apartments. And I'd like to stay in the city I grew up in, and finding it almost unaffordable to do so, sees a huge issue, and I really wouldn't like to move away, but it might have to come to that if there isn't much, low-income housing available to me and people like me, because there will be quite a few people, especially now with, rising inflation, which is a brand new thing that a lot of people here haven't really seen in their lifetime, the way I'm gonna have to see it. And this uncertain place we live in right now, that I will have to, basically be thrown into, and many people my age, my region, are going to have to be thrown into as well. And they don't get to have the same opportunities as a lot of people here have to be able to settle down really fast, to find a really cheap, affordable home, take a mortgage out on, very small mortgage, and have a lot of work available to them. While now I have to manage college and a part-time job and find somewhere to live. And that needs to be more accessible, in my opinion. So Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I do have two public speaker comments, but they have opted to not speak, but it is both opposed to item number 9. Okay, moving from public comment to applicant rebuttal. This is the time for the applicant in the gallery to respond to the comments that were made by the public speakers. This is not a time to introduce new testimony, but to speak in response to the statements made. So will the applicant or his designee please approach the podium? Oh, there you are.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on what Mr. Ferris said just a second ago. And it's pertinent to apartments in the city. We don't have apartments for young people to live in. 40% of these units, or somewhere around that number, will be one-bedroom apartments. My son, when he left here, we raised him here in Yucaipa. The idea of him coming back to Yucaipa, fortunately now he's here and he has a house. But when he graduated college, he came back to work in the planning department at the city of Yucaipa. And he had to live in Colton. There was nowhere to live. Nowhere for him to go, nowhere that made any sense, nowhere that he could get the price. You have the bungalows, and that's it, and you've got a long waiting list at the bungalows. And the reason for that is, when I started doing this in Yucaipa, which was in 05, 06, there was no R24 zoning. There was no high density. There was no ability to do apartments. So when they talk about the zoning on these properties, it didn't exist. It didn't exist until recently. And the properties that right now are zoned R24 are below the freeway, or they're at 14th and Sand Canyon, or 14th and Yucaipa Boulevard, right there. The northeast corner of Colorado and Oak Glen Road. These are properties you're not going to see done anytime soon. The ones on the other side of the freeway, great place for them, but there's no infrastructure there. Now they're going to do it. The city has plans for it, but it's not going to happen right now. In fact, Mayor Avila said on 4/6/22, when you guys put into effect moving forward on the EIR down there for the Yucaipa Freeway Corridor Specific Plan, he reminded the council that it was not an overnight project, but years down the road, which he anticipated being 10 to 15 years. It's quite a ways down the road. I want to remind the council that when the housing element was put together recently, that this project, as one of the numbers you could count, was something that was probably going to happen. These 172 units were included in the RENA numbers in the housing element. I also want to talk about some of the objections that have come forth, because obviously we have a little bigger crowd from that area than before. Kind of a little bit of a mailbox stuffing way of going about things to rile people up, like what had happened at the North Bench in the very first meeting. I'm going to take the Planning Commission meeting and repeat what Judy Main said, who said she's against the project. She said at 103 of the meeting, looking at what the developer has done with the apartments, right now he's removed the third stories, he's reduced the number from 200 to 172 apartments. The setbacks for those large buildings will range of 20 to 25 feet, and where our property lies, it's actually 50 to 55 feet. The cars are now facing inwards towards the apartments. The parking, and there you can see the landscaping. It includes lots of trees. They put in more of a natural earth tone colors. She requested we change the color of the buildings. And I hate to admit it, but I'm actually more for these apartments than I am for cramming a whole bunch of homes that are real close together. One of the members of the North Bench and a member of the Save Yucaipa community sent this email, and it said, and it's from Mindy Follette. Chris and I are very much for responsible growth in our community. The Fallbrook Meadows project, presented by Avanos Dominion to provide more affordable housing options to our citizens, appears to be a high-quality project in an area of town that is suitable for this because It is close to public transit options, freeway access for commuters, and meets the goals for more housing options for renters in need. Because of the public outcry over the development of high-density housing in areas zoned for rural living, such as Serrano Estates project on North Bench, Ivano's concerned that this is affecting his efforts for development. Chris and I are very active in the Save Yucaipa movement and recall of some appointed officials, which we have made no secret of. But we do want responsible growth to continue. We do not know all of the details of how this will affect the surrounding citizens, but we do ask that this project is considered without bias. I want to point out, and it's a very, very important fact, that per our housing element, the 218 City of Yucaipa housing element, that 49% of our residents, and I'm talking about, in this situation, 29% of homeowners and 49% of renters overpay for housing in the city of Yucaipa because it's not available. It's just not here. And that means those that are overpaying are paying in some cases over half of what they earn to be able to live in Yucaipa. You need affordable housing in Yucaipa. You need reasonable housing. And I want to point out as to what Mr. Farris said, that again, that the number one unit, the one-bedroom units is quite large here. One of the council members, additionally, on that same meeting, in regards to the housing and so forth, when they talked about it, one of the council members who's on this bench said, expressed an interest in upzoning existing residentially zoned properties in select areas. Council first further directed staff to return to council with updates for consideration for future meeting dates. A couple other real things real quick I just want to go to. The roadway capacity has been increased since the construction of the roundabouts. And I'm sure that's something maybe Fermin can speak about, but it's increased since the inception of our traffic study, which, by the way, was updated after COVID. It wasn't just a COVID traffic study, as they call. It's amazing now that everybody comes up here and cries kangaroo rat and CEQA violations and things like that. There was a biology study done on this, and there are no biological issues that we need to deal with. And again, Calamasa Boulevard is an arterial collector street, and that's, down the road. There's ways to go, and you've got a new off-ramp coming eventually on, by the time this maybe is built in a couple of years, you're not too far down the road from an off-ramp at Wildwood Canyon. So with that, any questions? I'm here to answer them.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna lead off. One of the speakers, Mr. City Attorney, one of the speakers mentioned a civil liability that we should, I believe, if I'm gonna quote him correctly, we should be suit up the yin-yang. What kind of liability does the city incur by approving a project like this?
Generally speaking, for most of the types of approvals you have in front of you, the city will have immunity. We got served with a lawsuit on another development that got approved a couple of years ago, and fundamentally the same thing. When you're looking at specifically that particular circumstance, you'd be looking at design immunity. You're looking at the design of the roadway, the design of the crosswalk. That being said, obviously, we should take the crosswalk seriously. And so I was gratified to hear that the applicant had agreed to provide crosswalk guards at that crosswalk going forward.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Matlock, what is, under the current general plan with no amendment, what is that property, what is the maximum amount of units on that property?
So the answer kind of depends. It's 8.7 units as the base density, and then it's 8.6 acres. And so that does allow, I think, in the 80 range of units. However, that does omit the density bonus procedures. And so from there, technically, if you did a 100% low-income project, you could get 80% density bonus on top of that number as well. So it's relatively within a little bit less than what is proposed here, but within kind of that framework.
Okay, Mr. Heaps, why can't we stick to that? Is it the pencil again?
No, we feel this is a good design for the project. We feel we've made a lot of compromises. It makes sense from the traffic standpoint, from the design standpoint, from the biology standpoint, from all the CEQA buttons that need to be pushed. This project makes sense. And it doesn't make any sense to drop it down at this point. We're already doing some affordability on it. We're already doing 10% affordability, so we have 18 units that are affordable at this point, so.
So with the density bonus, so let's just, you gotta help me out here, guys. I'm a cop for a living, not a mathematician. So if it's 80, can we say 80 for, is that?
Yeah, so I calculated it, it would be, if it was 100% affordable, it'd be a total of 135 units would be the density that would be permitted on that site.
And while sticking with the current general plan?
With a 100% affordable project. And so with this particular application, it looks like they're going for a mix and then providing certain amenities with that, in that particular case.
Do you other gentlemen have questions while I think?
What's that?
Do you guys have any other questions while I think?
I do. So you mentioned that 172 of these, this 172 was in our general housing element. This was counted in our housing element.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Or as part of the housing element, we did identify all pipeline projects, so we included projects that had been approved and also referenced those that were in the entitlement phase. I don't believe this counted as part of our RENIT calculations, but definitely provided a greater context from other housing elements that we do have a strong pipeline of different projects, and so it's less of our approach was less, theoretical, but really trying to leverage what do we have in various different states that can help justify our overall strategy. But this wasn't proposed as to be rezoned as part of a housing element policy.
Anything else, sir? No?
I'm good. I'm good with this part of it.
Councilman Gardner? Councilman Venable? I'm just, Mr. Heath, I'm struggling, and the reason why is because Yucaipa needs it, that's an appropriate answer. Yucaipa does need affordable housing. I would concur. But if that's the case, we could have approved this affordable housing last year at the general plan without having to do an amendment. Why don't we just build it that way? If we're truly doing it for the for the goodness of our heart, since these words are eluding me at the moment, why don't we just build it so that we can enjoy it versus looking at making it bigger, and then we can move on to the next project and find ways to do that there. I'm just curious.
I'll tell you partially why, Mayor. Because nobody would be happy if I did 100% affordable multifamily on that property and did 135. They'd be better off with the number of apartments that we're doing and having most of the apartments being market rate, people that are gonna bring a lot of money in and so forth into the city of Yucaipa than we would be to do 135 affordable apartments, low-income apartments, that is gonna bring back a lot of the things that everybody is gonna be saying out there about Section 8 and things of that nature. You get into the lower affordable level on an apartment project to get that 100% density, and you end up with something most of the people in Yucaipa probably don't want.
Okay, is there any other questions of staff or the presenter?
I did want to clarify, as part of the comments, just for the record, some of the points that were raised just as part of the deliberation. So one, as Mr. Heaps did identify, the traffic study did include a LOS analysis. As part of that analysis, it did identify that no significant delays would be created. LOS itself is not a California Environmental Quality Act issue following SB 743, but it does relate to the city's general plan policy. And as part of that analysis, it did take historical data and augmented it from pre-COVID data from 2019 to help support that analysis. So it wasn't just we're in COVID and this is the numbers, even though it's artificially reduced, it did include that. And VMTA analysis impacts were less than significant. One, for the property values, just for the clarification for the residents. So new residential development does generally increase values. However, property taxes for the surrounding residents don't increase beyond what is normal under Prop 13. Noticing this notice as worsened for those listed in the radius as part of the city's code, as well as a publishing in the city's newspaper. As part of the environmental review, mitigation for bio impacts does identify migratory bird mitigation measures. No San Bernardino kangaroo rat has been identified in the area. The known area for that is far out on the western end of kind of the Santa Ana River towards Redlands, not in this area. There's never been reports of kangaroo rat there. And then the presentation, I know someone identified misimpression about zoning. I believe my first sentence about the project description was that it's a general plan amendment to change the zoning. So I just wanted to make sure that that was in the record as well.
Thank you.
And this is a way to pay for more fire and police. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, at this time I will close the public hearing. The time is 7:54. Now we move on to council discussion. Councilman Garner.
I think it's a great project, and I'm for it.
Councilman Venable.
You know, keep on telling you guys, I moved here in 1986, and there was hardly any apartments here that me and my family could rent, and we almost moved to Hemet, just because the little bit more apartment complexes and stuff. And when I was working for Jaeger, it was a lot better and stuff. And I feel for this young man right here, you know, coming into the city and stuff and not having, you know, something to go to, you know, from the city. So like I said before, I'm the one that motioned for this project the first time, and I'll probably motion again for this project.
So I don't disagree with what you said. I think we do need more affordable housing. I think we do need apartments for our, I don't know of another city that has a youth advisory committee, but we have young men and women that are in our community that are involved, that are speaking out, that are wanting to go work. And well, look at, they want to move out of mommy and daddy's basement and get their own place. And this is a young man who is aspiring to do that. And we talk, a lot of the adults that I know talk about how some of these kids can't seem to leave the nest, and are we doing something to stop that? With that being said, we can build them. It's zoned for that. It's zoned for apartments. Let's build them. Let's do mixed even. If we're talking about what's good for Yucaipa, if that's what we're going to base this premise off of, then Mr. Heaps was right. Nobody wants a 135 affordable unit. Maybe 100. If Mr. Miskin is correct in representing the community, and I'm not, before I get misquoted on the bulletin or the news mirror, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that one guy spoke and I heard what he said. I'm trying to represent people here. Then why can't we do a mixed use of I don't know if that's the right word, affordable housing and market rate housing at 120 units, which is, you know, a 20% increase or something like that. And don't break out your calculators. I'm not good at math. I'm not sure that's 20%. I submit that it's there. The opportunities are there without being at nearly, 174 units. So I agree with you. We do need it. At some point, my daughter might, well, hopefully she does move out one day, but not anytime soon, wouldn't want to find an apartment. But this seems excessive in my mind. Mayor Pro Tem Duncan.
So I do agree with you, Mayor, that we represent the community. The community consists of about 55,000 people. And I noted here that 9 folks were here tonight from that area where this project is. And there's probably twice that many from the North Bench. And no matter what I say, the North Bench is going to dump on me. There's just no way around it. But it's a proven fact, if you go do your research, which I know you folks are really good at, the city only exists at the pleasure of the state. The state of California says that we can have a city council and that we can actually make decisions. If the state says we can't make the decisions, then we stop being able to make the decision. That is a legislative fact. As far as the studies that were done, the staff, I'm certain, based on what I read, checked all the studies, whether it was COVID, non-COVID, or whatever. The developer knew what they were getting, but folks, the fact of the matter is the city of Yucaipa needs this. We need housing. The state has mandated that our RENA numbers are 2,866. Huntington Beach is being sued by Governor Newsom right now because they won't build. They won't build in certain areas. Yes, the developer knew, but the fact is, folks, we need apartments because young people that grew up here on the North Bench and those nice houses up there, now they have no way to live here because there's no place to live unless they live with their parents, which seems to be a big deal these days. When I moved here in 1981 to be the minister for the Church of Christ, I drove up here and I found a house to rent. Back in 1981, there were houses to rent in Yucaipa. That's no longer the case at all. There's no houses to rent in Yucaipa. Sorensen employees have to live elsewhere. They employ 500 people. But as far as us representing the community, we don't just represent the 9 folks in that community or the 35 on the North Bench. We represent the whole city. We make decisions based on what's good for this city overall, not what's good for some special interest group, period, end of discussion. The state allows us to make 4 general plan changes every year by law. They allow that because they know that we might have to bob and weave through the process to accommodate their laws, their statutes. The owner of this property made all the changes that this council, the previous council, and the Planning Commission asked for. So, I mean, it's a decision that has to be made. If we deny it, we deny 172 units of the 2,866 that we have to do something about this. We can't just deny. We have to make sure that we provide housing for the young people that want to live in Yucaipa like we live in Yucaipa, unless you folks want to let them move into your house. So I agree with Councilmember Venable. I think it's a good project.
Okay, I will ask staff to please read the title of the ordinance.
Ordinance number 412, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yucaipa, California, amending ordinance number 343, amending the official land use plan and zoning ordinance of the City of Yucaipa.
Thank you, Mr. Matlock. Is this a roll call vote or ordinary motion vote?
Let's do a roll call vote.
All right. Madam City Clerk, will you please do a roll call vote?
Do we have a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
Councilmember Venable.
Yes.
Councilmember Garner.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan.
Yes.
Mayor Bieber.
No.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to announcements. Is there any announcements from the council?
Just to reiterate, I sent Megan a text on Sunday after she and her staff did an amazing job on this, on the Music and Arts Festival. The only complaint I got was the beer was too expensive at the beer garden. But it was a fantastic event. Thank you very much. You did great. And I didn't listen to all the bands, but it was a fantastic event. I hope we can do more.
Councilman Venable?
I do too. I want to thank Megan and Sarah for everything that they do in this city for the kids.
Folks,
and
this
for-
city council meeting has not been adjourned yet. Take your conversations out to the foyer, please.
Again, I appreciate everything that you guys do for the city and for the kids and for our community. Without you guys, we wouldn't exist. So thank you guys so much for everything you guys do, even though I'm a chubby guy.
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan, do you have any announcements? Folks, for those who are still in the auditorium and for those listening at home, I'm bewildered at what is happening in our community. The tragic loss of life within the last week, and then an an explosive device on somebody's private property. We have to do better. As a city government, we have to do better. As a community, we have to do better. We have a great sheriff's department, but they can only go as far as we help them. They don't have eyes and ears everywhere like we do. And if you see something, please say something. If you have information relative to whoever is doing these two crimes that I'm speaking of specifically, call the sheriff's department, give them the information, use the we tip. This stuff doesn't happen in my hometown, and I'm certain that anybody listening, whether you want to recall me or not, we can all agree that that's just unacceptable in the city. And so please, I'm asking for anybody in the community, if you hear anything, if you hear rumors and whispers, nothing's too small, let the sheriff's department, let those trained investigators sort through the information to try to find leads, to try to bring these low lives to justice. That's what we pay them for. They're willing to do it. They had an entire team of homicide detectives walking door to door. My door got knocked on. It happened a block from my house, less than a block. It happened 300 feet the way the bird flies. And they were out there immediately knocking on doors, trying to develop leads, but we got to help them out. So if you know something, call it in. That's all I have. I want to do better. I want the city to be safer. We got to keep on working towards that goal of the safest city in the state. Even if we never get there, if we're not trying, we're failing. So with that, we're going to adjourn the city council meeting of May 8th. It is 8:04. Thank you for coming.